Good. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Cannabis Club, a podcast about pot. Today we have two special guests joining me. You guys can introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Paolo. I'm a senior at Louisiana State University. Been a good friend of Julian for a long time. He asked me to be a guest on the podcast. Agreed to come on.
Hi, I'm Anthony, senior at Seton Hall University, friends with Julian, all throughout high school, all throughout college. It's been a pleasure, and I'm excited to get into it.
Always. So let's start off. You guys might be familiar with me, my podcast, but let's try to get an introduction of where I stand on smoking, where my two guests stand. So I've been recreationally enjoying the cannabis plant for probably around 4 or 5 years now, recreationally, sometimes legally, other times not, but that's just how the world works sometimes. And why I do it for a number of reasons. Pain relief, my knees. I was a baseball player back in the day, so it definitely helps with knee sore and back pain, things of that nature, headaches, and mainly just to alleviate mental stress, school, things of that nature, life. And growing up, it was kind of a lot of people around me smoked weed, not in my family, but people that I knew. So it was definitely not encouraged, but I never saw really a problem with it. So just my thought of it has always been not positive, but something that shouldn't be shunned, or something that should be looked upon the way it is. So I know my father partakes in it medicinally. He has his own medical card for his own. He had cancer, so he was smoking it for cancer. He has some joint pains in his legs. He's an old man. It's useful for him. He recommends it. Need I say more? You guys have any experience?
Yeah, I actively use probably for about similar to Julian in the last 4 or 5 years. Kind of similar to Julian for a number of reasons. Stress. Also just recreationally. Yeah.
I actually don't. I don't smoke. I used to in high school for like a year when I was like 15, 16, and then I just wasn't for me for a multitude of reasons. I don't know. I didn't like it, so no, I do not smoke.
That's fair. You see, we invite all types of guests here. We don't judge. We don't shame. We don't point fingers. To why's, why not? We accept everyone. So I'm gonna introduce a new segment on this podcast. I'm gonna call it Fact or Fiction. You guys ready for that?
I'm excited.
Fact or fiction, because there's a lot of facts, but also a lot of misinformation, fiction going on today, especially today. It's a hot topic about marijuana, obviously. So the first fact or fiction, I'm going to say a fact, and we're going to think. You could comment below, before the answer comes out, if it's a fact or fiction, if you learned, if you know, if you didn't know, if you know now. Watch along, read along, maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah.
But first fact, THC versus CBD, are they the same thing? Same effects? Is that a fact? Is that
Fiction. I'm going to say no on that one.
From what I know, I think it's the same thing, right?
You would be sorely. You said fiction?
I think it's fiction. They're very different.
I'm going with what I know, fact.
Fact. What makes you say that? Before I say my answer. Before I say if it's fact or fiction or not.
I feel like, I don't know, like when I was smoking, I feel like we didn't talk about that like in high school. Like, oh, is it CBD or THC? So I just assumed from growing older, it's like the same thing. Like CBD is maybe a version of THC, but they're definitely related, maybe, right?
You're definitely on the right track. Definitely.
Okay.
Well, I'll just spoil it for you guys. I don't know if you guys wrote down in the comments yet. It's a fiction. That is a fallacy. They are not the same thing. Correct?
Correct.
CBD.
Hope we're not taking points for this one.
we're not deducting points for this. But CBD, you guys might be familiar with it. I know we've seen it. I say we, but I know I've seen it in a lot of health and wellness stores, just even gym supplement stores, stuff like that, like lotions and creams. So seeing that, you're kind of thrown off because you see CBD, THC, and it's like, is that part of the same plant?
Yeah, I thought they both got you like high or.
That's the thing. THC actually, CBD only contains around 0.2, 0.3 of THC, which is the, forgot what THC stands for. Crucify me, my scientist.
We're doing it all live.
We're doing it live, but it only contains around 0.2 or 0.3 of THC within this whatever CBD you're taking to supplement. It could be in any form, supplement, edible, smoke it, whatever. And you hear that and it's like, okay, then it's the same as smoking weed. It's gonna get me. It's gonna have the same effects mentally and physically as weed, and it's a pretty common misconception. And I see why. I had the same misconception kind of before doing this, but actually no, it doesn't. Most people do it, like I said, you find it in wealth or health and wellness stores mainly just for dealing with aches, pains, and things like that, like ointments, rubbing ointments. So it's really catered to not any people can use it over 18, and but it's mainly used by older people just for that specific reason, like joint pains and things of that nature, headaches. Maybe rub some ointment, CBD ointment in the hair, get your hair growing. Has a lot of different properties. Where THC is mainly just for the psychoactive effect, where you're gonna get drowsy, hungry, things of that nature. Where CBD is more just kind of calming, way less calming effect, or way less calming effect. You guys know anything about us? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I know you don't know much.
So I have like a backache and just rub that on my back?
Yeah. And it's not that you're going to take THC extract from a plant and rub that on you. That's not how it works.
Do you guys use CBD?
I've never, I know both my parents have used CBD. And I know my mom is kind of against marijuana and THC in general. So that's why I was like, my first kind of thing, like, why is she, like someone that has like for years and years and years, as long as it's my mother, as long as I've known her, she's been against it. And then I see her, oh, my back hurts, CBD pills, and I'm like,
similar to my dad's against it too, and like he has back pain, and like his friends like, yo, just use this, blow for him. It's like, I'm not using it. That's why I was like, maybe it's the same thing.
It's a crazy stigma, and most people that really would be the only reason to not do it, because it's like, oh, this is like me smoking weed or something. And I know some people just would be like, all right, immediately turned off from that, but don't be. Do you have any?
I have some like moderate experience with CBD. Now, kind of what Julian talked about, does help with muscle inflammation, things of that nature. Also, from my experience, it does have a slight, like, it makes you feel more at ease, more calm. However, it's like, unlike smoking regular marijuana, THC, it's not the intense high feeling that you get. It's just more of a calming, you're completely in control of all your motor skills. You don't feel groggy, you just feel calm.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I couldn't have said better. That's exactly why in 2018, there was a bill passed that actually legalized, because I don't know why it was not legal in the first place. I mean, I know why, but in 2018, it was decriminalized everywhere in America, which kind of not opened the floodgates, but definitely opened a new light for people to see, like, oh, this isn't marijuana. This is just like a pill, like a medicine I could take, which is most people, even today, I know that was 4 years ago now, but most people today still wouldn't even know the difference. Which I know I'm not trying to.
Yeah, no, I didn't know.
I barely even knew, which is.
All the time I ever saw, like we were in high school with that like Weird Deli by Marin, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely not legal.
Exactly. You'd see it in weird delis and shops, and you're like, all right, this is probably not good, but you'd be surprised at the health benefits. It definitely does have a lot of health benefits of it, which is why it's not decriminalized, or which is why it's decriminalized. So, like I said, THC, CBD, same thing. It's a fiction, a fallacy, a lie. I don't know if you commented that, you guys, but we'll see. We'll check in the comments after. Second factor, fiction. Weed is decriminalized everywhere.
Fiction.
Did you say CBD is decriminalized?
Oh, I said THC.
No,
THC.
Before we were talking about it.
I said CBD is decriminalized, yeah. Everywhere in America.
2022, I'm gonna say it's decriminalized.
Everywhere? In America.
Everywhere in America, yeah.
You said it's fiction?
I don't believe so. I do, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that President Biden is working or trying to put in effect something that would decriminalize marijuana throughout the United States. However, it hasn't been passed yet, or it didn't go through.
You're right. Again, 2-0-0-2. We're taking points now. We're taking points. We're gonna start taking points now, guys. You guys at home can start taking points. Paolo has 2. Anthony has 1. I'm a neutral.
Let me get some more trivia then.
I'm staying out of it. So, like I said, it actually is not decriminalized everywhere, which is like I said before, CBD is in 2018 it was decriminalized everywhere due to the aggregation of farm bill, but weed is sadly, unfortunately, not decriminalized everywhere. It's decriminalized in around 32 states.
Oh, that's a lot.
Which is definitely a lot, but not nearly as much as you think, especially more than you thought.
That was more than I thought, to be honest with you. Yeah, no, that's surprising. Definitely, I mean, 32. We still have some ways to go, but we're on a good track. Shoot,
we're good here though, right?
We're good. Phil Murphy, our governor, bless him, bless up. He's a big proponent of legalizing marijuana, which I think there's a number of benefits to, which I know. Many people might not agree, but I think the proof is in the pudding. I think it'll do great for the economy, opening up new shops. We'll touch on some other things later. We'll touch on what it'll do later. But on the East Coast, I know New York, it's decriminalized. It's been decriminalized. Even NYPD cops could smoke. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did not.
Did you guys see that? Yeah. It's coming into effect. It was coming into effect last month, maybe October.
Not on duty though, right? Like
no, not on duty, but just off duty. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which is a crazy.
Yeah, that's
kind of crazy because I was in New York. Well, I go to school in New York, but I was in Manhattan like 2 weeks ago, and there was they weren't smoking, but everyone in Times Square is just smoking a joint or doing something, smoking a blunt, and the cops just had no problem with it. They're just sitting down in their squad car. I'm not discrediting the cops, not that, but it's just kind of weird to see the shift in moods, especially in New York, which kind of cracks down on is kind of infamous for cracking down on drugs, and it's not really weed, but drugs in general. Yeah. And it is a crazy shift. We're seeing a lot in the East Coast and the West Coast, but in Central America, but in the middle part of America, there's still ways to go. Probably not going to see it for the next coming years, but
I'm shocked we don't have a shop in Bayonne yet. I thought that was going to come immediately.
Yeah, shops are, when they decriminalize it, that's kind of because it takes a while to set up a shop like an actual legal marijuana shop.
License and background.
You need a license and you need $1 million to set it up, like a straight up $1 million.
To buy the license, Steven.
Really? So it's legalized, but with some like
a bunch of hoops to jump through. So like to stop, like we worked in a loaning business this summer, and an industry that was always flagged as a dangerous industry, or dangerous, like not dangerous but risky, like you might not be making profits or you might get shut down, was the marijuana business. And we were working in New York and worked with businesses in the East Coast, and we'd rarely be able to get them funding just because they'd be profiting well, sales were doing fine for the marijuana shop, and then we'd be on the last step and be like, all right, you're in the marijuana business, this is risky just because it's not legal everywhere. Like, how are you going to ship it? There's just so many questions and so many jumps you have to go through to actually, once you even get the shop, like selling it and making and doing something with it, it's just, I hope it changes. I hope it's decriminalized everywhere, but that's a dream that may never come true. But
one step at a time.
One step at a time. We got it in New Jersey, we got it in New York.
We're progressive.
We're very progressive. So, like I said before, weed is not decriminalized everywhere in New York, or not New York. Weed is not decriminalized everywhere in America, sadly. I know you guys at home are a little stunned by that news, maybe a little sad. You can comment below what you think.
Probably just me that's stunned.
We'll see. So let's pick up a third fact or fiction. I hope you guys are watching. Weed is addictive.
This is a loaded question.
Feel free to.
Well, yes and no. There's a lot to unpack. It's a nuanced answer to that one.
I would say yes. I do think one can get addicted to weed. I remember like when I was smoking, I used to like want to do it a bunch. Like I was always like, oh, it's fun. I think it's like you're addicted to the action of doing it, but like you're not addicted to like the drug itself, kind of. Like the fun relaxation it brings, you can get addicted to. That stress reliever.
I get it. So you're saying it isn't addictive, but like the.
Yeah, I'm saying yes or no. I know it's like not what we're playing.
It's a cop-out answer.
I'm also losing desperately, so I'm just kind of like sick.
You need a point. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean,
feel free to explain why too.
So
you explain why.
The research I've done, like the articles I've read, so weed, just like anything else, in this world, realistically. So you could get addicted to it in a habit forming sense, meaning that people get used to smoking every single day and get used to the feeling of smoking every single day. And so it becomes very difficult for them to get off the drug. But it's not addictive in the same way that like an alcoholic becomes addicted to alcohol, or someone who smokes cigarettes is addicted to nicotine. Like the weed itself doesn't have the same addictive properties in it that cause you to keep smoking or keep So yes and no, where you could become addicted to like you get used to smoking every single day and become addicted to the action. However, the plant itself is not addictive to any extreme extent.
Okay, what he said, but he said it better.
Well, you guys are repeat your answers again. So it's addictive, but
It's it's a habit forming addiction. It's not addictive in the same way that other Schedule II drugs are, alcohol is, even cigarettes are.
Those are like depressants, right? Like I feel like weed is not a depressant, is it? No.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with being a stimulant or a depressant. I think it's just the properties of the chemical within it. It's just, yeah,
you guys want to hear my answer? Or not my answer, but
the correct
Really?
answer.
the correct answer. Well, there was a lot of studies going into just forever that there's a common conception that weed isn't addictive. It's not addictive. I can quit anytime. Smoking, you hear that, but you know it is tobaccos, or inherently you're gonna get addicted. Alcohol, not just alcohol, weed, drug, or tobacco, things of that nature. And people would always just kind of count weed out of that somehow. They would always hate on it, but one thing was for certain: you can't get addicted. But a recent study done by WebMD, done by the University of Tacoma, and a couple other experts that are just experts on marijuana and addiction itself, not just marijuana addiction, have actually come to the conclusion that it is addictive. What do you think of that? It is addictive.
Like the drug itself is?
The drug is, they say about 1 in 10 regular marijuana users will become addicted. And that's before the age of 18. Or not,
wow.
Among those people who begin using the age or marijuana before the age of 18, which I would say is, especially today, in today's day and age, where you can vape,
Easily
THC,
accessible.
you could be a minor, or you could be a 13-year-old and get weed from a shop or anywhere. Kid, that if you're below the age of 18, the addiction rate, instead of 1 to 10, it rises 1 to 6. Do the math.
Wow.
It's a good amount. So 1 in 6 of your people are addicted.
I do feel like when I was smoking, I was never like itching for it. Like I was never like, oh my god, like, I need it. I mean, you guys smoke. I mean, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I use
What do you think?
fairly regularly, so I don't know. I don't know. I can't really if you use it regularly enough that I don't really. I'm never craving it. It's just part of my life routine.
You think you would crave it though?
I mean, I've taken breaks before, and definitely the first 2 days, 3 days, it's not easy. You're kind of itching for it, but I've heard stories that people, alcoholics, they try to quit cold turkey and they go sent to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's nothing that
where your
extreme,
body physically
just starts shutting down.
Yeah.
More so just you get used to the feeling of being high every day, or just sitting around, just kind of bored, nothing going on, and you're just it's itching in the back of your head more so than I need it.
Yeah.
I had an old coworker. He was a waiter. I was a busboy, and he said he smokes every single day right before his shift. And there was one day that he didn't, and he's a great waiter. He's the best waiter I have. And there's one day he didn't smoke, and his eyes were all puffy and red, the basic things that you think someone high looks like. He was that, but not high. And our boss came up to him and he's like, yeah, are you high? What's wrong? Why aren't you working well? It's actually the only time I'm not high, and I'm working horribly. So I don't know how that weighs into our conversation on addiction, but I don't know.
It was a good point, because I kind of see where you're both coming from, because as a regular weed smoker myself, I'm in the camp where, even though I partake in it regularly, and I think it does have its benefits, and I'm an advocate for it, I think it should be legalized. I think if you need it, you should take it or ingest it, however you see fit. If you don't, then you don't. I'm not gonna force it on you. But I do definitely think it is. I definitely think it's pretty addictive, to be honest, because I haven't personally. I think it does have to do with the fact that weed is so accessible nowadays, to where it's You can get a weed pen, like a weed vape cartridge, and get that from your local deli for $35 or $40. Hit that in the comfort of your own home. Like, you don't have to go outside and maybe smoke out the traditional ways. Go to a bong, roll up a blunt, a joint, something like that. You hit up or you go to get a vape. You're hitting in your room for hours. So that kind of makes it to where, and I know I'm not alone in this. I know you might agree. I know you don't smoke a lot, but I know you might know, where it's like you're doing it so regularly and just so nonchalant, where it comes like not second nature, but it almost is like second nature, where it's like, all right, let me get high. Like, let me hit the pen, and then that becomes a routine where it's like that routine stops for a couple days. Like, I haven't smoked in 2 days, and I know I'm feeling like a little irritable, not tired. Like, what's the opposite of not tired? What, like
alert?
Not even alert. Like, drowsy, but like not even able to sleep. Like,
restless.
Restless, exactly. That's the word. Restless for just throughout the whole day, not even the night. Like, throughout the day, if I'm not smoking, it's just like, what the heck? Like, what am I doing?
When I smoked, it was before, like, honestly, like, carts and stuff, so I had no easy access. It was like, when I'm smoking, it's at Hudson County Park. Like, there was no
Yeah.
way I can, like, do it in my comfort of my home.
Yeah, it's kind of how.
So that's why I can't really have an opinion on, like, the easy accessibility of it.
I get it, because I was just having a conversation with my dad literally today. We were talking, and he asked me how much I smoke, and I said a decent amount. He said how like often. I said regularly, almost every day, and he was like, as he smoked himself. He had cancer. He smoked to help himself, like with his own medical problems. So he had his own, like, an actual reason to smoke, and he personally said it was like, you shouldn't rely, because that's what it kind of is. Like, it's a reliant, like, I know myself, I'm basically reliant on it. Not reliant, but it's a big part of my life. Call it my life, but I see that, and I'm like, from a person that actually needed it and did it for an actual reason instead of me just doing it recreationally. I'm like, oh wow. My dad was like, oh, like, you're doing that right? Like, you don't become dependent on it. Like, don't, like, that, like, you don't do it for a couple days, like, that'll mess you up, for real. And I was like, yeah, I know, I can tell. Like, trust me, I'm living through it, and that touched me just because I was like, damn, like, he's, you know what I mean? Like, I know he's a proponent for, like, he's like, like, he not a, like, advocate, but he's like, if you want to do it, like, do it. If it helps you, it helps you.
In a medical sense, like,
yeah,
he's had experience with it.
Yeah, but I see that, and I'm like, definitely addictive, but not addictive in the sense, like, of alcohol and tobacco, where it's like I'm like, my body is like physically reacting, but it's more of like a mental, like, physiological reaction. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, that's
like,
why
I remember I didn't smoke for a week when I was Thanksgiving break in Disney, and I didn't bring any
You said
weed.
you couldn't eat, right?
I could not eat a thing. I straight up, like, we're going to great restaurants, went to Guy Fieri's chicken shop, couldn't eat and I love chicken fingers. Come on.
Staple.
You guys know I love my chicken fingers.
What are your
She
three
does
foods
love
you eat?
chicken
Yeah,
fingers.
one of the
No,
three
yeah,
foods you eat.
one of three, and it's not three, and it's not two either. It's one. It's top one. You know that. But I get there and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was having a good time. I was with my family that I hadn't seen in a while, so, like, the vibes were up, vibes were good, but I was restless, a little irritable. But definitely what I noticed most was my lack of appetite, which was, like, the craziest. Like, I'd hear that before, but I was smoking so regularly, like, kind of without a break before then, so I never really noticed it. And when I went like a full 7 days, I was like, holy jeez, like, I cannot.
That is crazy.
And I love to eat. I'm a skinny guy, but my metabolism works quick. I like to eat, and I just couldn't for the life of me.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see it being addictive, and I see the repercussions of it in my life and in others. So, like I said, weed is addictive, but it's not to dissuade you. If you have an addictive personality. I know personally that it's also a case by case scenario. I know my brother, he's a functioning grown man. He enjoys marijuana on occasion, not debilitating, like, not his, like, he doesn't rely on it at all. He's chilling, he's cool, and then he doesn't have addictive personality. That's just, you have to know yourself before you get into it. I know I'm addictive mother trucker. I don't know.
No, I mean, no, but again,
We all have
like,
our
that's,
vices.
Yeah.
it's more so you're addicted in a reliance sense versus, like, if you do, like, one dose of heroin and you become addicted to
Yeah.
it. So it's like I get what you're saying. It's addictive in a reliance sense.
I get it. We'll move on. Move on to the fourth. Remember to put down fact or fiction below, and then if you got it right or wrong, or just
This is
something
like the
you
most lackluster fact or cap from TikTok.
learned. We're on to our fourth fact or fiction. Weed kills. A general question. Just
General answer, yeah. I mean, we're gonna debate about like how are we gonna?
I just want to hear your thought.
I think yeah, just because like, again, speaking for someone who doesn't really smoke like, at all for the last 5 years, like getting high in my mind, I don't think I can operate a vehicle, which could just open the doors to so many bad things. Like if I'm really high, I'm not really feeling grounded to the world, hit a car full of a family, they're gone. You know what I mean? So I think weed could lead to death, but I don't think I've ever heard of someone like overdosing on weed.
Yeah.
So I think it can lead to death. Yeah.
Yeah, my take probably falls in line with Anthony. That weed itself isn't dangerous or can't kill you, but when you not practice the right way, I guess I'll say, it could be fatal.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, guys. It was kind of a trick question. You definitely cannot overdose on weed. That much has been abundantly clear since its inception, since the day it dropped back in the olden times, back in the biblical days. It has not killed a single person off just overdosing and smoking. He was, and he did not overdose on it. He was just, they could recreationally or medicinally enjoy it to their heart's content, smoke as many J's as you want, and be fine. But yes, weed doesn't kill. But like you guys said, when you're operating when you're operating or when you're doing activities, it's like cigarettes do kill. That's a lie. Alcohol does kill. Also a bad analogy. Horrible analogy. But what I meant to say is, weed kills when you're what they said, when you're active, when you're
practicing it badly, as Paolo put it.
Practicing what?
When you're not practicing it the right way. Operating a vehicle
exactly
high, like when you're smoking, clearly it slows down your motor skills to an extent, slows down your reaction time. So I mean, like you don't want to. The weed itself isn't going to kill you, but if you're very high driving in a car and your reaction speed will slow down.
You have 100% THC concentration in your body, and you won't die. That's a proven fact. You can Google check me, viewers. I know you like to do it. You like to check me, but that much is true. But you do. Someone does. But that's not to say that if you go smoke 45 joints and then hit a bong, maybe a bowl, and then you go operate
for
some heavy machinery. Yeah, you go for a joyride around Queens, around Carneseca.
Not Carneseca.
You don't want to get caught around there. No, the SJU doesn't play around that. But that you're asking for that just falls into line of malpractice of being what's the word, responsible with if you first of all you can only smoke where it's decriminalized. You can only be 21. Obviously, it's like smoking cigarettes or alcohol. So being 21, there's a level of responsibility to it. As we're all 21, there's a level of responsibility to anything you do, especially when the older you get. So with that responsibility that the states give you when it's decriminalized, like they're saying, well, it's not going to kill you, it's decriminalized, but so are cigarettes and liquor, but that'll kill you just the same as smoking a joint and then going for a drive. But also in the same sense, I know we said weed can't kill you, like the actual THC, like plant concentration itself, like no matter what, but there are definitely dangers to like weed killing you in the sense that there's a lot of laced weed out in the world and a lot of K2, it's like synthetic weed, like K2 and spice, which is very popular in the UK and especially here in the East Coast, like Connecticut and New York, New Jersey. There's a lot of, it's honestly basically an epidemic, not an epidemic, but it's a problem. It's a problem that has been going on since the early 2000s, and that has really no signs of stopping. Especially with the decriminalization of weed, there's still going to be people that want to make a quick buck that are selling it on the street for a smaller price, and it's like, oh, let me just smoke this plant for for $10, like cheaper than I would get it at a dispensary in New York. You get it from your local drug dealer. You don't know where you're getting it from. You could be getting fentanyl laced weed. There's thousands of deaths alone from fentanyl. That's just in general the use, but fentanyl laced weed is a serious thing, especially in New York and New Jersey. I know that, which is will kill you. Kill you like you smoke that any type of fentanyl, you're gonna die.
Fentanyl's scary.
Fentanyl is very scary, especially K2 synthetic weed, which looks you can't even tell the difference when you see it. Like it's like a plasticky scent. I've never smoked.
Is it plastic?
I was gonna say I've never smoked. I wouldn't know, but like from what I've seen or from what I've looked up in videos I've watched, there's like a slight it burns a little different and smells a little different, but it's kind of hard to tell even as like a regular pot smoker. Like weed smells different. Like other strains, nothing smells the same every single time. There's
what
obviously
is
a regular
synthetic weed
smell.
though? What is it?
It's like what K2 is. It's like there's like plastics and what's the word I'm trying to think of? Just a bunch of harmful ass chemicals that aren't meant to be ingested. Basically, that'll straight kill you. You could smoke K2. I'm not advocating. You
can definitely do it though.
Don't sound clip me. Don't sound clip me. You could smoke K2 and be relatively safe. I know it's like a pretty popular drug with the homeless community because it's a very cheap. It's just really cheap weed. It's not like it's synthetic weed. It's super cheap. Get on the street for $5, $10, and I know it's popular in the homeless community. Smoke it, and then the effects are 10 times stronger than actual weed. So it's like, whoa, this is lit. But then it's like this will kill you. Or weed, it's like you get what you're gonna know what you get. You might be slumped on your couch for a couple of hours, maybe really hungry, but that's the extent of it. As to where you go to somewhere else. Go somewhere on the street, maybe even some shops that don't even have a license, because that's a very popular thing in New York and New Jersey. I know you guys know. Most shops that I've seen sell THC, straight THC, like weed, like the flower, vape cartridges, any type edibles, any type of form. And and especially that's not licensed, you really don't know where it's coming from. It could be synthetic. It could be. I'm not saying it is. You can trust if you know your deli, your local deli, trust them. And you want to get it. But weed is relatively hot. I mean, not if there's kids watching, wait till you're 21. But make sure you know where you're getting it from. Make sure it's in a safe, controlled environment. It's not like a hallucinogen. You're not going to tweak out, but just make sure you trust where you're getting it from and who you're going to do it with. But like I said earlier, weed does not kill unless you're stupid. Then it will kill you. But that's like everything. It's like a gun. Not
Look into that one.
Yeah, gun control is our next episode. Next episode on Cannabis Club will be about gun control.
I will not be in that.
We got our fifth and final fact or fiction. Drum roll. Marijuana is less dangerous than tobacco. Thoughts?
Fact.
Wait, what was the question?
Marijuana is less dangerous than tobacco.
Fact.
Explain why.
I feel like I've always heard that though.
I mean, so at least from what I've heard, clearly the smoke intake that you get from smoking marijuana isn't good for you. And I think that in the purest forms, if you just compare tobacco and marijuana, that tobacco is slightly less worse for you than the marijuana is. However, most of the time when people are smoking tobacco, they're smoking the prepackaged cigarettes, which contain tar, formaldehyde, other chemicals that you don't want in your body and that cause cancer, which that isn't found in marijuana for the most part.
I came on this podcast to get educated, so I can't educate others. But I just feel like I've always heard that's the better vice to
weed.
Weed's the better vice.
Well, you guys ready?
Give me a point, please.
I'll give you a point. Linked to a recent study, let me just say my first beliefs before going into this. I definitely originally thought, and I always heard the saying that weed is definitely still, it has its negatives. It has not a lot of that, but it definitely, like any type of smoking, smoking in general is not going to be good for you, whatever way you slice, whatever you're going to do it. So there's going to be risks. and a lot of them, decent amount. But I would always hear that smoking is just 10 times worse just because tobacco and basically what all they said, the tar and everything that comes in the prepackaged cigarette is going to be way worse than just getting the flower, putting it in some leaf, or putting it in a bong, like glass, or whatever, however you're doing it, and then just smoking that. And I always thought, I would always be like, all right, well, I'm not smoking cigarettes, so I'm fine.
That was my
That's
exact
exactly,
what I thought.
yeah, that's exactly how it was. Like, I'm not smoking cigarettes, I could be doing worse, I could be smoking worse. And now I'm vaping, but, you know.
I was about to say, then it happened a year later.
Yeah, that's a different, that's a story for another day, you guys.
Episode 3.
But according to a recent study, a lot of recent studies coming out that are
Well, becoming more more commonly practiced. So
that's why we started it.
this podcast wouldn't be around 3 years ago.
We'd be getting canceled for it.
So I mean, it's becoming more popular, and because of that, we're gonna have a better understanding of the effects, which I think is all around.
Which is what I hope
thing.
we can provide for you guys, for our viewers out there. But so according to a recent study, smoking marijuana actually may do more damage than cigarettes, according to a peer-reviewed journal on radiology.
So I lost this whole game.
Not what I need to hear.
Listen, we're all losers sometimes, more than others. But in the study, it said that marijuana may be linked to an increased risk of emphysema over smoking tobacco alone, which was something that I know it came to a shock to me when I was first looking this up.
Yeah, that's...
And I know it might be a shock to you viewers at home, but let me read along. Keep up. The results come as states continue to legalize the drug. Like we said before, it's more and more states are decriminalizing, so more and more information is going to get to the light. Not that it should have been known years ago, but you know that's just how the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And we got a quote from Dr. David Kaminsky, which is a pulmonologist and professor at the University of Vermont. Go Bulldogs. A burning leaf is a burning leaf. The lung doesn't know the difference if it's tobacco or marijuana, which is exactly kind of what our point we were talking about. Oh, it's only a burning leaf. Like, how bad could it be? But then you look at any type of flat or leaf that you put marijuana that you're smoking it in. Like, is it real? Like any type of wrapping paper, any type of wrap you're gonna use, like. There's going to be a lot of tobacco in that. Am I wrong? No, right? There's a lot of tobacco.
It depends on what you use. I'm pretty sure.
Well, like joint
paper is joint paper is 100% hemp, natural, I believe.
Yeah, which is good.
Good
I know you're. I obviously I'm not stupid. I know you're not supposed to put anything in your lungs because it's oxygen, but.
Well, yeah, definitely agree with that. A joint would definitely be the safest way to go if you're trying to. I mean, the safest way to go would be probably not to ingest or ingest as least amount of smoke as you can into your lungs, because that can cause lung cancer, throat cancer, mouth cancer. You can go on and on.
There's other ways to ingest if you want to enjoy marijuana, like edibly.
You can eat it.
Yeah,
edibly,
you can drink it at this point. Like, you don't have to smoke to reap the.
For longer, had a hemp infused flavor.
Exactly, that's exactly my point. There's safer ways to do this, folks, and hopefully we're teaching you guys out there, all you novice smokers or non-smokers that are maybe a little wiggle room.
Hopefully all 21 plus.
Oh, only 21 plus.
21 plus.
But if you're a child watching, then hopefully you took away something you can tell your parents or older brother or sister, maybe a teacher, something.
Hopefully just a brother and sister.
Yeah, probably don't tell your parents.
This was a blast.
Yes.
Well, it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet. What is your favorite strain? And dual question, viewers. You guys can comment below, and if you want to answer this question, favorite strain and favorite method of ingesting marijuana.
I'll go first, because mine's quick. So, strain, no idea. It's been 5 years, so no idea. Question 2, back when I used to, it was a bowl. I felt cleaner and higher, so.
For me, my favorite strain is probably Pineapple Express, solely because of the movie. And my favorite way to smoke is probably the joint.
think I'm gonna have to. I'll answer myself. Don't worry, guys. I think I'll say sour diesel. That's a strain, right? I'm not really familiar with strains. I'm pretty smoke whatever. Don't follow me. I'm not a role model, but I am a content creator and a YouTuber. Subscribe, guys. But
Hit the like button.
hit the like, smash that like button. But I would definitely say sour diesel if I had to pick one. I mean, a pretty general would be indica, right? That's a strain. Yeah, indica. Just
That's a family.
Let me just explain the difference between indica and sativa real quick. Sativa, I'm gonna throw one at you. Indica. To remember this, guys. Remember this at home. In the couch. Have you heard that? You never heard that?
Familiar with that one.
Oh,
You've heard that.
I'm very interested though.
Indica in the couch, because weed. I know you might think all weed is gonna just make
Affect you the same.
is gonna affect you the same, which is another common fact or fiction. We could throw another fact or fiction if you want.
I actually know none of this, so I'm very.
Exactly. It's for you guys at home too. We're all learning that weed. Even when I was a kid, like not growing up, or not a kid, but like when I started smoking, I was like, all right, weed is gonna affect me the same every single time I smoke. Like it's just gonna get me super drowsy, super hungry, and super giggly. I guess that was like the three type of thoughts I had going into it. And then it took me a couple of years to be like, wait, there's multiple different, there's two different strains where like opposite reactions. Where sativa is like, you smoke that, and then you could go run for a couple miles, go type an essay out, make a podcast, do whatever, do something productive, right?
Yeah.
You can attest to it.
I can attest to it. Jordan is factually accurate right now.
So what do you guys usually into?
I'm a big indica guy.
I prefer sativas personally.
I mean, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I agree.
And like sativas is that energetic, gets you up, gets you alleviated, kind of definitely boosts your spirit. I mean, both indica and sativa definitely that's just kind of like a baseline property of marijuana. Like it's just gonna boost morale, to be honest. But it's a weird, like, sativa's more, all right, let's be productive. Let's go do something, like, let's go write a book. Let's do whatever, row, boat, whatever you guys are interested in. Whereas indica, it's like, smoke some indica, and then it's, all right, we're watching the first 3 Planet of the Apes, and then we're gonna watch Avatar.
Or what you just did, 3 seasons of Walking Dead.
Or just 3 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Just one day.
Exactly. But both, which I know, if you guys are not avid smokers, but if you guys are experienced, you might know that. But some of you at home might have been like, holy, I never knew. A new gateway.
That's what this podcast is about.
But weed is not a gateway drug.
We're here to inform.
Well, weed is not a gateway drug.
Any other closing remarks?
No, I mean, this was a blast.
Good episode.
Recording this one, and then, I guess my last word to the viewer would be, if this is something you want to try, like figure out how your body reacts with it, and do what works for you. There's not one way to travel on this journey.
I like to learn, so I hope there's a few people like me at home that are like, oh my god, I didn't know any of this, and just kind of have fun.
As long as there's one, not counting you.
Yeah, not counting me, please don't count me.
As long as there's one person who viewed this video that learned something from our little fact or fiction segment in our episode, I take this as a good experience, and I hope I don't want to steer you guys in any which way.
And I don't think you did, because I wasn't steered to do anything. Like I can attest. Like I wasn't like, oh, I need to smoke now. Like, I just still have no reason to. Still have no want to. But like a lot of my friends do it. So yeah, it's like I liked learning more about all of that.
Because like you said before, there are benefits. There's benefits to everything. There's benefits to smoking a cigarette. There's benefits to drinking liquor. Not many benefits, but there's benefits to those, and then there's benefits to. It's the same, smoking weed. You're gonna feel food's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Movies are gonna be good. Everything's just gonna seem pleasant, jovial.
You got merch coming out, right?
It does also.
Merch drop.
Merch is dropping. Cannabis Club, podcast about pot with my face on it. Will be dropping soon. Link will be in the bio, possibly.
Crew necks, hoodies, bucket hats.
Maybe.
Visor.
No promises.
A little visor.
No promises on any of those, my cannabis. But like I said, lot of positive, negatives. Hopefully you guys see this video, you weigh them out, you hear the facts we laid out, the facts and fictions, what we talked about, our own experiences, what we know. We're not experts, we're just people, we're people like you and
Just friends in the club chatting.
we're just in the Cannabis Club, boys. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
What did we hit?
That was
25 minutes.
45.
45. Are you dumb?
Yeah, we hit 45 on the dot. Bro, I'm